Howdy, y'all, and welcome to Texaswatch for Tuesday, July 7th, 2020. I'm your host, Projekt, and joining me, as always, is the Tracer main with the biggest brain, Zay.
What is up, man? Oh, back talking some good-ass Overwatch, man. What a weekend.
Not just good Overwatch, good-ass Overwatch.
Oh, good-ass Overwatch. No.
We joke around, but, like, we have a special episode for you guys today. We wanted to try things a little bit different. You know, typically we just talk about Houston, we just talk about Dallas, but we had, if I'd say easily the community would agree, the best tournament we have seen all season. So
absolutely. Without a doubt.
Oh yeah, we're gonna break that down, but it'll be just a second because this is Texaswatch. You can catch the show live right here on twitch.tv/ProjectAR every Tuesday at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time because Texas time
is bestest time.
If you can't catch the show live, don't worry about it. We upload the podcast services and YouTube. So you got that Spotify, you got that Apple Podcast, you got that Google Podcast. We keep doing this.
Well, what's that one that starts with an S?
Stitcher, I think. No one uses that. It's okay.
You always with that. It's great. It makes it sound like we're on more platforms, but no one cares after those, right? No one listens to those.
Pretty much it. Well, I mean, there's Pocket Casts, but Pocket Cast just uses the same thing that Apple uses. We're everywhere. We're everywhere. We're on YouTube too. Just to search Texaswatch, but probably Overwatch because I will keep saying until I think of something else. My SEO was awful when we made this podcast, so we're still rolling with it. All right. Enough about the rigmarole and all that jazz. Let's just jump straight into the topics today. The Summer Showdown was a tournament.
Outstanding. It was one of, if not the best tournaments, at least for Overwatch for sure. And I'm talking about going back to the Apex original days of Overwatch. It was
way back.
Yeah, it was amazing to watch because of just to give a little bit of an overall kind of analysis of it, just the level of upsets and the style of play that was played. If you've listened to this show, if it's your first time, welcome. Thanks for listening. If you've watched it or listened multiple times, you know how I feel about Dive and Tracer Genji. And oh my fucking God, I saw like Dive with double shield, and it was just like, what? And it was so much more fun to watch.
Can we please talk about the amount of Genji that we also saw this weekend? A hero that we haven't actually seen in pro play for quite some time because, let's be honest, he was pretty weak. Even in some of the best hands, like remember when EQO played Genji in season 1?
Yeah. And that's when, even the best hands, he started getting slowly nerfed and nerfed. And I don't even know if it's so much he got nerfed. It's just think about the Genji as a character, how old he is. He's one of the original characters. Him, McCree, like their kits are so basic. Like it's a movement ability and a kind of escapability, like deflect or flashbang, roll or dash. Compared to like Sigma, who throws a fucking rock that he generates out of nowhere. Like as characters, their original Overwatch. And I think this is a great job by Blizzard to say, okay, what can we do to keep these characters relevant? And small 2 tweaks. Make his shurikens closer together, his right click, and a little more damage. And now he's fucking godly with these people.
Let's talk about Genji just for a quick second, because I did notice this over the weekend, and I just got done watching Plat Chat, and they kind of share the same sentiment. I think he's a little overtuned. Like,
I disagree.
He is great in the right hands, but it's almost in the sense of now that he has the ability to cancel the deflect, which is huge. I don't think a lot of people recognize how huge that actually is. And his shurikens have, the cone is smaller, so if you right click, you're going to hit more of your shots. Like, I feel like he's almost in a point now to where if anybody's actually good at Genji, they can abuse it. But then that's when I raise the question to myself. Look at characters like Widowmaker, right? She puts out so much, but you got to be good with her to do that.
Exactly. And if that was the case, then why did teams lose? Like, basically, like, I think when you have a hero like this, I wouldn't even say he's overpowered. I really disagree with that statement. I think he's very usable, but he's beatable. Like it's not like all the teams that played this comp. If all the teams played this comp, some teams lost and just weren't good at it. And this is with Overwatch, dude. It's just the meta right now. There was the Doomfist meta, Sinatra carried. We had goats when Zarya you needed to carry. Like it's kind of the meta right now. And he kind of will get tuned down a bit, but I'll be damned, dude. That was just fun to watch. Like watching Genji players go off. Agilities had an amazing tournament. His team just not good enough to win. The recent like that's all that is. Like Toronto.
Okay, don't be hiding my man Kariv, okay? One of the best supporters in the league, period.
Yeah, and dude, I love Kariv on Zen. I love he busts out the Zen a lot of times on the
Zen
ball.
Is honor, dude. That's why I like watching.
Oh, I love watching his Zen, man. He kills widows like it's fucking going out of style as Zen. He's like, man, you over there? Oh, pew pew pew. Done. Like it's insane.
A man after my own support heart.
Yeah, and Agilities could only do so much. Big as great a Genji as he is, I mean, you could argue he's up there. I would say with EQO and Sparkle. But his team just doesn't support him as well. And we saw that towards the end. And we'll kind of go back to the Texas teams for a brief moment. But if you watch the final series, it was literally get your Genji blade, throw all your resources into protecting your Genji. Other team throws all their resources into stopping the Genji. And you're just like, this is this Genji running around a fucking sword between 12 people. You're just like, like it was so fun to watch.
Some of those blades that we had this weekend too. I mean, we're gonna talk about that EQO blade on what was it, Rialto? Because that deserves some conversation on it. So not yet. Okay,
I have an argument about that too. Don't give me I'm hot. I've read that was a great week at Overwatch. Like I read it. It was not the best blade of the tournament. But
so let's take a step back, if you will. Yeah. Let's actually talk about the Summer Showdown as a whole. So, at the beginning of the Overwatch League season, we were supposed to have his homestand model. Supposed to be regular season games. It was going to be a mid-season tournament, and then we're going to have whatever to the end. And then Corona happened. I think I'm allowed to say that now that we're 4 months into this.
Yep. I meant to go grab it eventually. I have one Corona left just for this show because I wanted to drink it to talk about Corona. But I'm drinking a Corona extra. I'll grab it later. We got time.
Yeah, we got time. But yeah, they had to make some changes to the way that the league structure worked, and it seemed like the VP, I want to say John Spector, actually said, okay, we'll listen to the community. And the community said, A, more tier 2 support tier 2, and B,
support tier 2.
B, we try this new tournament structure where there are a couple of games and then there's a big tournament where those few games before were like your qualifier games, where however you placed in those couple of games would place your seeding for the tournament and go from there. It's a pretty standard structure, if you ask me. So, we had the first one in May. They called it the May Melee, and it was all right, but it was just more of the same Overwatch that we had come to expect. San Francisco took it all.
Yeah. And that's what, having a dominant team is good, but don't you just enjoy seeing the giant fall? I don't care who it is. You just enjoy seeing like the mighty fall. It's just it's so great to watch.
Do you remember the game last season where the Los Angeles Valiant, a team that had been on the downturn, decided to upset the Vancouver Titans?
I remember that. Yeah. They were going for another perfect stage.
Yeah, they hadn't lost a game all season up until then, not counting the times they lost against the Shock in the stage finals.
Right, that was the only team they lost to in the playoffs.
Right. So, like, that game was just one of those moments of, like, oh my god, this is actually happening. Oh my god. Like, and not just that, but this weekend, this tournament, we got that moment over and over and over again. Like, aside from the Dallas-Paris game, almost every game was an upset?
Yeah, there were 7 upsets. The May Melee tournament had 0 upsets, and this one had 7. So you're just like, holy crap. And how many total matches did they play? I can count 4, 8, 9, 10, 7 out of the 11 matches played were upsets.
Which is awesome. I love that.
That's a fucking crazy tournament. That's insane. That's the kind of things that gets people hyped that watch the league, and people want to keep watching it because. And that's what makes this tournament great because the team, teams are sucking right now. I don't even know where the Paris Eternal are in the standings. I think they were before this tournament, 10th or something. And now they win this thing. Spoilers, they win if you don't know by now. They win this thing and now shoot all the way up to I think 6th or 5th. They jump 4 spots by winning this tournament and then get the 50. I think total they get $70,000 or 75 based on the wins. So it's insane, and it's so fun to watch these teams that I guess are mid-table or lower tier, maybe not have a chance. You get a meta shift, these tournaments come out, and you get upsets all over the place. Like, I just enjoyed the Toronto Defiant as well, beating the Valiant and then the Reign. And I love it because the Reign were like so confident they could beat the Defiant.
Atlanta has seen themselves as a top 3 team, and they're not a top 3 team.
We all thought they were, and before the season, they were ranked. Everyone had them ranked so high, and nope, it was a lie, and it showed. It also some juice being getting in with Atlanta with Baby Bay, but we'll save that for a bit. But yeah, so it was overall extremely entertaining. It was entertaining with the teams and the type of teams that we usually don't see on a grand stage like this, like the I guess the newly formed Vancouver Titans, the Toronto Defiant, and then the Justice. Got through a round, so you're just like, what? Like, what in the world? Granted, they got boomed by the Shock, but
they at least got to what was it, the quarter?
The quarterfinals. When
they had they played the makeup game against Boston and won that too. Like,
yeah,
a lot.
And then they beat the Gladiators 3-1. So you're just like, what the fuck?
Well, the Gladiators are an anomaly right now. Okay, like,
but between Big Goose, Shaz, Space, and the OG, like, how do you lose to the fucking Justice? Like, what? Like, come on, man! Like,
I don't know what's going on in South LA this season because something is going on with that roster.
They were sleepwalking, dude. I think that's on the coach because they're more talented and they were not prepared to play against the Justice. Like,
Space is everybody's favorite off tank. Come on.
Yeah. He has to be right.
Did you see the comms check where they like made fun of that little bit? I thought that was great.
Or he was like, that's my guy. Yeah, he's like, yeah, that's he was my guy because they usually curse during comms check or something like that. And they see like, yeah, it makes it really hard for them. And Space is like, haha, whatever, that's my guy. And then like he puts the picture of Space down. There's a montage of like Space going away and shit. I love how they like to poke. They're able to poke fun at themselves. That's a great job for the league.
Absolutely.
But yeah, dude. And I will say it was a good tournament for the Outlaws. Making it to the quarterfinals.
Can we talk? Well, let's jump away from the Outlaws for a quick second because I want to talk about the Fuel. I don't have too much to say. I love my Dallas boys. After seeing how Paris performed and made it all the way to the end, I actually don't feel as bad for losing in the quarterfinal like we did. Mm-hmm. Like if it were a loss, like we didn't play Paris like too terribly far apart. Like I'd like to think we played a decent game. It was 3-1. Mm-hmm. Like they did fine. They just lost. Paris was the better team. Point blank. Period.
Do you realize that our teams lost to the first place and second place team?
Holy
you lost
shit.
to the Eternal. We lost to the Fusion. Those are the 2 championship teams.
Huh. Okay.
We both got boomed by 2 teams that made the finals. So,
that's why I don't feel as bad about the loss. Normally, I'd be like, what the hell, guys? What's happening here? But no, if you lose to the champions. Oh, okay. Yep. Okay.
Exactly. And like the Paris Eternal beating the Shock, dude. That was insane.
That game. Wasn't it like all the way to like 5 maps too? Like they played all the way to the end.
It went to map 5, dude. Went to map 5. And just speaking of the Outlaws too, yeah, they played well. I really like how they played against the Mayhem. I think we really showed up. I think the Fusion is just way better, especially in the Genji meta.
EQO, like, he got off the bench, dude. Like I think people are forgetting EQO didn't really play much this season.
That's why people were calling for him because, like, what was it? In the Genji, like, maybe it was the last week of the regular season. I'm not sure, but when Genji was like super buffed and Hacksaw was showing off and Sparkle were like, the New York Excelsior and the Paris Turner were like, this is our comp. We have a fucking great Genji. And the last week of the season, the Fusion didn't play EQO, and everyone was just like, question mark? Like, why?
Where is he?
What's going on? Like, and then in the tournament, they were like, oh, there he is. Like, there we go. So. But he had some of the best performances of the tournament. I think MVP of the tournament, it has to be Sparkle, right? I don't know if there's any.
I mean, you saw they actually gave it to XZ, and being honest,
I'm talking about
some of those. Oh, the whole tournament, you mean?
Tournament, not the finals MVP.
Okay.
But
Sparkle.
Yeah, but I think XC did was more consistent than Sparkle, especially towards the end. At the end, they really started to shut down Sparkle with a lot of the accretions and stuff like that. Like Sparkle's blades got nothing done at the end against the Fusion, and XC had to come in on the McCree multiple times and just like pop off. And XC's McCree against Striker's Tracer, dude, he shut down Striker, which is not easy to do when you were playing the Shock. It was just a great performance by that team. But let me go about the Outlaws real quick. Basically, we played the Fusion in that game. Man, we got the shit Dragon Blade out of us. That was rough. Like that was a Dragon Blade up the ass. Like no joke. Like it was bad.
Well, at the same time, like Philly has always been one of those teams that like you kind of have to take them seriously. You know, like
we know that. Yeah,
sure. We had the game where they played San Francisco 3 weeks ago, and we were like, "What happened here?" But we know that Philly is a team that is capable of rising to the occasion. Unfortunately, they still can't win a tournament.
Yeah, man. How? You see the reactions?
Yeah, I felt so bad. Like, I could tell like half of those players were either crying or like about to, and I'm just like,
I know for sure. Carpe and Sato were crying. Like Carpe was like in tears. He was just like, you can see him rubbing his eyes. He was like trying not to show it. Like, damn, Don, it must suck to be one of the best skates in the world and can't win a trophy.
If we're talking about face cams, though, I gotta talk about Fielder. That was so funny.
Fielder,
I feel for him, dude.
Fielder wins Iron Man Award of the fucking year. Are you kidding me? He was in Korea, and didn't the matches start for him at like 3 a.m.?
Yeah, 3 a.m., and then he finally finished when it was about noon in Korea.
Bro, his face is like... He's like, I don't know where I'm at, bro. Like, I've been playing Overwatch for 9 straight hours. I'm so fucking tired. And he was playing Baptiste, so he has to watch for flanking Genjis and Tracers, whatever. Has to know when to put down immortality. Has to, use his shift ability to heal himself, and could constantly heal his tech. Like, he has so much shit to worry about, and he's like, I'm so dead.
Dude, kudos to him to like get that man in the States or wherever Paris is actually staying. I don't know where they're staying.
Good question. Yeah, it would be easier for him to get to Paris than the States, wouldn't it?
I think because the Overwatch League is an American league, he has to get an American visa. I'm not a visa expert. I don't know how it all works, but
why?
Well, because like think about it. Who's paying him? Overwatch League, right?
Yeah,
technically the team is paying him. That's where he gets his contract. But like, I would assume that because the Overwatch League is like based in Los Angeles, like,
no,
I don't know how sports work. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I work for a company that has people in another country, and they don't have American visas, and they pay them. So I think he can get a visa to go to Europe. I would think that pairs. Hopefully, they're in Europe. If not, then they're staying in the States. Either one. I would hope they can get him there eventually, but for the time being, I wish he was with his team and could have celebrated with them. As happy as Paris looked, as Fielder is like, you can see. I saw
dead, dude.
You can see the screen changing as he's closing windows. He's just like, I'm going to fucking sleep. I don't care. He closed Overwatch. He closed Discord. He closed fucking TeamSpeak. I guess sorry, not Discord. He closed everything.
They can't use Discord. We don't speak Discord in the Overwatch house. Even though literally that's what every single, like, I'm sure the casters, I'm sure, like, content creators, like, all of the analysts.
Zoe said it when they got the interview. Like, did you see the interview with Rolf? He was muted for the Vancouver Titans.
Yeah.
Because she was like, okay, we have you in the Discord, but it's not in the OBS. I'm like, you just said Discord. You're not sponsored by Discord.
You said the D word. Don't say the D word. Dude, TeamSpeak was the weirdest sponsor this season. When has TeamSpeak been relevant in the last 10, 15 years?
Dude, that's how sponsorships work. That Overwatch is like, you'll pay us to just put TeamSpeak? Bet. Pay us all you want. And that's what they did.
That's what Activision wants, right?
Yeah, TeamSpeak is irrelevant, so they're like, well, we need to put our name on something. I don't know how they had the money to afford an Overwatch League sponsorship. That's what I'm curious about.
I'll get back to you on that. I think I have an idea. But that's not super important. Let's go back and talk about this damn tournament, okay? Actually, let's talk about Houston, because I have a question specifically for you.
What's up?
So, we've seen Houston improve over the last couple of months, hands down. Yes, I see Andrew Music is sponsored by Napster. Damn, I haven't heard that name in a few years.
Napster?
Oh,
they still exist? Don't they like sell music now or something?
I don't know.
I had to Google it.
But yeah, no.
Rhapsody.
What?
Rhapsody Music is now Napster.
Oh my god, I feel old. I remember that shit when I was like in middle school, dude.
You're a Rhapsody, dude.
Oh god.
So the two oldest fucking music things, like, dude, we're fucking dying. Let's just combine our powers and Wonder Twin activate. That's
about
what
right.
they had to do.
Sounds about right. But no, with Houston, right? The question I want to ask you is, as an Outlaws fan, as my Outlaws analyst, if you will, we've seen this team improve. We've seen them make the proper switches, subbing people in and out when they need to. They actually got further in this tournament than everybody thought that they would. Nobody expected them to beat Philly, no. But Houston
no one expected to beat the Mayhem. Yeah, no one expected to beat the Mayhem at all. Yeah.
So, do you think that the Outlaws are finally that mid-table team that we've wanted them to be, if not maybe top 10, top 5? Where do you think they sit after this tournament?
I think with this current meta, we can finish top 10, but I do not see us making top 5. If you look at the standings as they are now, we are 1 game back of the top 10. So if we win and Atlanta loses again, we will go up to 10. Right now we're at 14. And I think we can be in that range of Atlanta, Seoul, Valiant, Mayhem, Paris. I don't know now. They're going to shoot up. But
Paris
we can
is number 6 right now, by the way.
Yeah. We can shoot into that area of Atlanta, Seoul, Valiant, Florida, which is like 9, 10 through 7, I think, right now. So we can be in that range. Okay. I don't see us cracking the top 5.
Let me interject real quick. One thing I think that the Overwatch League needs to address is the fact that we've been playing this NA region and APAC region for so long now. These two regions, they're different Overwatch. Like, I hate to admit it, but watching the APAC games and then watching the NA games, I don't want to say different metas, but the games are played just a teeny bit different.
Yeah.
Whenever these teams do eventually play each other again, it's going to be really curious to see which region ends up stomping the other, because I guarantee you that's exactly how it's going to go.
You think it's going to be a stomp. So when the two come together, you don't think it's going to be close either way. Either one team's got the meta right and one's got it wrong, and there's no in between.
I wouldn't say one's got it right and got it wrong. More along the lines of, and specifically, I think the APAC region is going to be a bit stronger because you have the 4 of them, and it's only 4 of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's
7 total. There's 7 total.
Right, there's 7 and then 12. I don't know why I thought 4. So those 7 teams are always playing against each other, and then we have the 12 teams in NA. The skill gap in NA is much wider. Thank you. Much wider than it is in the APAC.
Absolutely. Region. Yeah, absolutely.
So you have the teams like the Shock, like the Fusion, that are used to 3-0ing their opponents, right? But the teams over in APAC, like, they're playing each other relatively close. Not always.
No, Shanghai's blowing everyone out of the water over there. And Guangzhou now. Only team I think Guangzhou really... They don't really struggle with too many teams, actually. I think they 3-0'd the Seoul Dynasty in the APAC, in the Asia region.
Going out for Seoul. God.
Yeah. Guangzhou went in the Asia. I'm talking about the Asia tournament. I don't know if you got to see any of it, but it was
I saw the result.
It was pretty bad. They were just all blowouts. If you look at the stats, they're all 3-0s and 3-1s until the final, which is a 4-2. Which is good. So it was 3-2 going into map 6, and Guangzhou pulls it out.
But this is the question that I want to ask, though. Like, we're seeing all these blowouts, right? I do think that there will be a skill gap between the best team in NA and the best team in APAC. I think that the Overwatch League needs to take that into consideration whenever it comes to the standings. because it's not really fair. You know, like you have one region who has less teams to play against, which means they have less chances for like their stomps. Like I think that the 12 teams that we have in NA allow the teams to kind of realize like, hey, so and so is good and so is not.
Right.
You know, like when everybody plays against each other, everybody knows how everybody plays. And granted, it's just 5 more teams, but I think you get my point.
Right. I see what you're saying. So I guess, so I would say, I mean, of course, it's the best thing they can do right now with the pandemic going on, but maybe there'll be some kind of incentive towards the end, or maybe a couple of the Asia region teams get cut off. Like if you're a bottom 2 team in the Asia region, you just don't get to play in the final tournament, or you know, whatever that may be at the end, in the, towards grand finals, you just don't get invited to it, and that makes it a little more cutthroat. So they're like, oh crap, like we need to win these games and like, put some more emphasis on it. Maybe that's the only way you can make it fair. But yeah, aside from that, yeah, you're right. I mean, there's only 7 teams over there, and you're playing, 13 teams here in NA. It's different. I would say, because honestly, if any of those Asian teams, if any of them came into, besides Chengdu, if any of them came to the Western region, they would all be like top 10.
Hands down. I'd say maybe top 5. Shoot. Nixel is still good. Shanghai is godlike at this moment. Where is Seoul? I'm sure Seoul would perform better if they played NA teams, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Well, the only teams they ever lose to are Shanghai and Guangzhou. They beat the Spark regularly. New York matches are pretty good, but New York pretty much wins. And the only team New York loses to is Guangzhou or Shanghai. Like, Seoul and New York only lose to those 2 teams. So those 4 teams are the best in the region.
And I do want to give a quick aside. If there's any New York XL fans that end up watching this or listening to this, I feel for you guys. Seriously. Like, their games are always at like 3, 4 in the morning, dude. Like,
oh, yeah.
Oh, God. Can you imagine?
Do you mean on them playing against whose games at 3, 4 in the morning? Talking about the Asia region teams?
Yeah, because they're playing in the APAC region.
Are they in New York?
What? No.
That's what I'm saying. They're in Korea.
They're in Korea, but the fans are still in New York.
Well, that's tough shit. I don't know what to tell you. That's the price you have to pay for an all-Korean team. I don't feel sorry for you. Screw that. You stay up and watch your team.
That's actually been something I've wondered, though, because we have all-Korean teams that have elected to stay in NA. Like, Florida is still in NA. Washington, well, they became all-Korean after the pandemic. So,
well, I think it's all who you play. Because technically London and New York should be on the West, on the Western hemisphere. But they're not, because their whole rosters are in Korea, so you have to play the Korean team. So if all the Florida's players were like, we want to go home to Korea, they would move Florida to the Asia region.
Right.
So that makes sense. I think they did it the right way in that regard.
Okay.
So my question to you is this: which match do you think was better? The Florida, Florida stuck in my head now. The Eternal Fusion match or the Shock Eternal match?
Eternal Fusion. Shock Eternal match, it was a good match, yes, but it was San Francisco. Like, I don't want to say they're like a one-trick pony kind of thing, but SF plays like SF. Like, we know how they play.
They are a one-trick pony. Like, yeah, I would agree with you. That's what my argument was going to be. They didn't adapt because they've been winning one way for so long that they just say, okay, just play our way better and we'll always win, and it didn't work. Right.
The Philly Paris game, I almost said London. I was thinking England. Sorry. The Philly Paris game was some of the best Overwatch I have watched in a long time. And a huge part of that is because we got so much amazing Genji play. We had multiple times where
I wasn't crazy. I told you Dive was the best. I told you with Tracer and Genji, our meta Overwatch is just better, dude.
Well, we saw a lot of Hit Scan, a lot of Widow too. We saw Carpe. Oh my god, like watching Carpe and Exy just like get those amazing snipes, or even like whenever they're both on Ashe. Or I forget what game it was, but we had Carpe was on Ashe and Exy was also on Ashe, and he was like, "Nah, fam, fuck that." Switched over to McCree, and I'm like, okay, and then he started carrying.
I'm not gonna fight you. I'm just gonna fight with the tanks. Fuck this one-on-one battle. Right. But that's what I'm saying. So isn't Overwatch better when there's a hit scan flanker, not goats, not this May Reaper bullshit?
Who are you talking to? No, trust me, I agree with you. Okay, right. I like it when Overwatch is a little bit less sustained and more of like, let's use our abilities to get the executions that we need. Right?
Yes, bring back dive.
I do think that we need more than just dive. I'm not gonna let you die on this hill, damn it.
I'm gonna die on this hill. Just delete all the heroes and make Overwatch Dive Edition. And like, every hero's locked, and all you can do is run dive.
Our Overwatch custom games.
Genji's Doomfist.
We need to make that a custom game. It's Overwatch Dive Edition, where like every CC character is just banned.
Yeah, every CC character is banned. Exactly.
So like
there you go. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
To answer your question, easily the finals. It wasn't just the fact that it was both of these teams playing at their peak level.
Right.
It was the whole match was a spectacle. Like, you know, when you watch, like, let's talk about regular sports for a second. Bring us over to boxing, right? You watching these two slug at each other round after round. You slowly watch them get a little bit more fatigued, but they're still giving it their all until at the very end you have the one last person who says, I am here and I'm going to win this, right? That's genuinely how I felt during this match. Like,
yeah, I would agree. If I had to bring a sports analogy to it, I think my best one would be that every time, like in a football game, you know, he chunks it deep. And his receiver running, you're like, oh, is he gonna catch it? Every time the Dragon Blade came out, I was like, and that's how I felt. Oh god, because obviously, you know, I'm a sports fan, and I'm, you know, dying over here without being able to watch it.
Hold on, sports fan, don't you have another podcast where you talk specifically about sports?
Yeah, it's called Zay and Teddy's Excellent Adventure. You can find it on Spotify as well. All right, thank you for that lead in for that plug. Zay and Teddy's Excellent Adventure on all podcast services, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and if you use something else besides that, you'll find it. It's there. I don't know if it's there. But yeah, that's what I would equate, because without having sports really that are being played right now, to have that feeling again of like when the announcers were saying, when, you know, Brendan and Sideshow were like, okay, you know, EQO's coming in. He has Dragon Blade. I was like, oh shit. Like Yuji goes like, oh, here we go. And like, all you see, everyone die and stuff. And immortalities are going out and accretions. It was so fun to watch.
Do you remember? I mean, I think Rialto was the last map that was played, but I distinctly remember on the Philly second push. And yes, I'm leading up to the play you're thinking about, where Philly was in overtime. They were pretty close to losing it. Paris was in perfect position, right? They wiped out everybody until it was just EQO left, and we all thought it was done. And then EQO playing Genji pressed Q, and oh my god, it was the most beautiful Dragon Blade we have ever seen. He got, what was it, all 5? Granted, he did get help from Carpe, who zipped in as Tracer at the very end.
It was not the best Dragon Blade of the tournament. I'm calling it right now.
It's okay. No. It's not that it wasn't the best Dragon Blade of the tournament. It was the fact that we're watching that game, you know. We all play Overwatch. Yeah. We know when a game is done.
Yeah,
there, okay, congrats, Paris. You guys won. You did a great job. GG. And then you hear Genji, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, it's not over. It's not over. Oh my god. And like the fact that he clutched it, and anybody who plays Overwatch or any competitive game for that matter understands the concept of clutch.
Well, that's the play Genji you dream of, right? Every Genji you've ever had in your ranked game who's by himself and pops Blade, you're like, oh god, dude, why'd you do that? Like, whatever, like, there's no point. EQO was like, fuck that. We're getting this. And you say that, and I agree with you. It was one of the most clutch plays we've ever seen in Overwatch history. I said this actually on Reddit, and I got a lot of flack for it. But I say it's the second best clutch play. I think first was Season 1 Grand Finals of Prophet on Tracer. And then
that's a
when he got a 5K on .2 Volskaya to win the match.
I remember that play, dude. That was That's classic Overwatch right there.
Yeah, I put that on Reddit. Everyone's like, "Oh, you hater, feel it, you're idiot." I'm like, "Oh god, I should have opened this can. How could you say that? EQOs is so much better."
You know, what, everybody knows.
Fucking weebs, because you want to see it's kids.
Reddit's a great place. The community is questionable.
And I was like, half you kids back in my day, remember Season 1 Overwatch. You didn't remember Prophet and Fury on the London Spitfire. You know, Badoshin, you don't remember those days.
Where is Badoshin? What happened to him? Is he?
He's starting. I forgot what team, though. Dynasty. Prophet and Badoshin are both in a Dynasty now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That works.
But the Dynasty kind of remade themselves as the old Spitfire, which is weird. But
Wait,
yeah.
What was the question you asked? Shit, I don't even know if I answered the question.
About the best play, about the most clutch play I've ever seen in Overwatch history. And I said my vote was that Season 1, and I was in Grand Finals. So he does that, gets a 5K on Point Two Sky as Tracer, and they win the Grand Finals. So, and to me that was the best I've seen. EQO coming in second, because I have not seen a Genji pull some shit off like that. I don't know, I think ever in Overwatch.
Yeah. Just this tournament itself was just a joy to watch. You know, like Monty was right. I will keep saying it. I don't know if it's stroking his ego, Monty. If you're watching, keep doing the good work, I guess.
Monty, stop talking shit. That's what I say.
No,
talk too much shit, dude.
That's never gonna happen. That is never gonna happen. Talking shit is in Monty's blood.
Well, it's the internet. Talking shit gets you famous, so we need to do some more of that. Yeah. That's why I did it on Reddit. I was talking shit.
Yeah, Houston sucks. Boo! How's that?
This troll, like EQ's play wasn't even that good. I should put that as a topic on competitive Overwatch.
Yeah, like, that would get you so many downvotes, bro.
Oh, dude, know my name. That's that one Reddit guy. Look at this one Reddit. I'm like, yeah, I'm famous, motherfucker. I'm infamous.
But yeah, no, like, I want to talk about this tournament, and I kind of want to close because I want to talk about what's coming up next.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, this tournament was a joy to watch. We've spoiled who won it. Sorry, not sorry. But if you want to watch an excellent game of Overwatch, or rather excellent series of Overwatch, I highly, highly recommend going back and watching the Paris-Philly game. It was tense. It was dramatic. You had Carpe pulling some of the most amazing plays I have ever seen. Like, the amount of times I shouted Carpe and or Sparkle the entire game.
Yeah, Sparkle just had some of the best Dragon Blades I've ever seen. Like, I'd say his best play was against the Shock between point 2 and 3 on Rialto. When he had that fucking sick, like, no look. Like, you have to watch. It's in the top 5 plays. I don't know if I can find it on YouTube on Overwatch League channel. It's one of the top 5 plays of the tournament, where Sparkle between point 2 and point 3, he gets a 6K Dragon Blade, but it's so clean. Like, the dash resets, you're just like, oh, like, dude, how are you that good?
If you get a chance, go back and actually, like, watch the Genji plays in slow motion. After this week, when they did implement the Genji buffs, the tech that can get pulled out of, okay, Shuriken, get the dash elim, okay, cool, dash resets, dashes back in to get some more damage, then you have Genji deflect for 1 second, cancels a deflect, gets another kill, dashes again, like, the tech that can be done.
Yeah, and you can see in his burst damage is so high now. If you dash melee right click in the head, you can kill any DPS hero in the game. Like, as Tracer, you don't stand a chance anymore. Tracer used to be like, oh, it's a Genji. Well, as soon as he uses deflect, wait it out, and then one clip him to death. No, he can right click you and hit you in the head and take 100 and 125 HP and then dash you, and you're just like, what the fuck just happened?
Remind me, you're my analyst, so if my stats are correct, Genji's shurikens are 70 damage each, right?
No, they're 30.
30? I don't know where I got 70 from.
They were 28 and buffed to 30.
Okay, so it's 30 damage each. So if you get the 3 from the right click in, that's already 90 damage. Melee is 50 damage. And
140.
Dash is 70? No.
I think I want to say it's 45.
It's enough to finish off squishies, is what.
And
I'm
that's not if you
at.
headshot. If you right click and that's a head, you can headshot someone with the right click. So if you're close enough, like that's why most Genjis, when they dash, they want to end the dash right in front of the character. They actually don't want to go through a lot of the times when you're trying to kill someone, because if you stop right in front of them, you can immediately right click them in the head as you jump, and you get 90 damage, and it's doubled because it's headshots. So it's 180 damage from right clicking someone in the head, and if all three hit them because you're close enough.
Yeah.
That it will kill, and then if you melee, what is that? 230.
230, and that's Tracer dead. That's Sombra dead.
That's Widow dead. Hanzo's dead. Like, you can literally kill anyone with that, because you couldn't really do that with the old way because the spread was too big. So you would right click on their head as Genji, and you get maybe two at the most, but you never get all three. And now you can just murder people with that. So that's why you saw a lot of the times EQO and Sparkle would just be above the tanks, just right clicking, just around on their head. And that's why they got blades so fast. You're just so much damage. It was insane. Like the tech that those guys know with those heroes is awesome. I wish I was good at anything as they are at playing Genji.
That's why they get paid the big bucks, though.
That's
how it is. But I want to use this to transition into a greater topic that we're going to talk about real quick. So, preview for next week, and Zay, I'm sure you can kind of guess. Next week's big topic is going to be the Battle for Texas 6.
Yeah. Is it 6 already?
I think it's the 6th one this season. Wait.
Jeez, they are milking this rivalry.
Might as well, right?
Yeah, I know. Because how do you follow up that tournament? Just like, yeah, we're going to have the Boston Uprising against New York. Against like Gladiators. You're like, what? Boston is, LA, what?
Yeah, and they want the Boston-New York rivalry to be a thing, but that skill gap is way too huge.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for the league. Just like, damn it, how can we make y'all better? Like, stop sucking so much.
But no, like, next week we're going to be talking about the next Battle for Texas, but at the same time, we're going to be looking at the rest of the season. They have announced the schedule for all the rest of the teams. I'm sure you've seen Houston's. I've seen Dallas's. Mm-hmm. We can get into the actual specifics of what we expect for the rest of the season maybe next week. But what I'm curious about is we have one more tournament coming up, and then we have grand finals after that. Like, we are in the final stretch.
The Countdown Cup. I didn't know what that meant at first. I was like,
no, I don't like the name.
Why is it called Countdown Cup? And I asked that
they
question
want
on
the
Twitter.
alliteration. They want the alliteration. I get it, but no.
Why did they just call it like make it corny? They call it "It's the Final Countdown," and then like they could have made it some
probably
corny.
Because it's copyrighted.
I would have took that over Countdown Cup.
Yeah,
but whatever.
We know why. And one thing I think is actually kind of interesting is I'm sure it's going to be Countdown Cup, and then maybe one or two more games, and then we have the grand finals. And I would like to actually see how they intend on doing the grand finals this year. Because they ain't selling tickets for nothing. Okay,
so how do you do that? Do you integrate the teams and do it, or do you really have two separate grand finals tournaments?
Ask. Like, we're really running into a curious issue because travel is already huge. Don't forget the fact that if we try to put these players back into a LAN environment, which I do think is a good idea, but it might not be the safest, because, sorry to bring the podcast down a little bit, Texas is one of the worst states for COVID infections.
No, okay? I think you could do a bubble environment similar to what the NBA is currently doing. You get a location, all players are tested and have results come back before they leave to come. And then when they get here, it's preferably earlier. So this is, I think, a 2-week process. Mm-hmm. When they get here, they get tested again, get the results, and if everyone's clean, then we put it in a LAN-style environment with no fans, kind of thing, to make it fair for everybody. And it's a full-blown tournament. I think that's what it should do, and I think Blizzard can fucking afford it. I mean, they can fucking afford it. Eternal just won $75,000 for winning this tournament. So, and then in the Asia region, they won, I think, 50. So Blizzard just coughed up at least $250K between first, second, third place, and fourth, and everything. So they can afford to make some kind of bubble or rent out some kind of arena in one location for all the teams to fly to and all the players, and have hotel. I think that's the best way to do it, and not it be in Texas, being like, it could be somewhere in Europe. Maybe that's easier for both sides to meet in the middle.
That's the curious thing. And so let's talk about the Countdown Cup before we talk about the grand finals, right?
The final countdown. Okay, sorry.
It's okay. I don't like the name, but I'm sure they're gonna stick with it. It is what it is. We've been dealing with their odd decisions all season. We're almost done. But no, like we're getting another set of games up until the tournament, and then we have the tournament, and then that's it. Like I would like to see more upsets. It's curious. Because now that we're in this part of the season, right? Everybody's storyline has already been written, right? Maybe we'll see Dallas figure their shit out and start winning some games at the very end. Maybe we'll see Houston become that top 5 team that they've been striving for under Coach Harsha. Like, we can actually see these upsets happen. But the problem with that is we don't have a lot of time.
True.
And
very true.
I don't know, man. Like, with the way that the tournaments have the whole thing where the winning team gets added points to their
regular season total, season win total.
And like, let's look at the things right now. Like SF, clearly front runners in NA, hands down, right?
Yeah.
We have Philly, who's been keeping up. I'd say a decent second place.
They're still a top tier team, absolutely.
And let's see who else in NA. Paris now is a top tier team, which came out of nowhere.
During this meta, when metas change, the teams change. Like, you saw Florida's not built for this meta, and now I'd argue Florida Mayhem are not that good, to be honest. They
got lucky. I don't want to say they got lucky. They have the right players for the right meta, and I think
it shifted.
One thing that Overwatch definitely I feel has an issue with is sometimes whenever they buff a hero, that hero becomes so strong they have to be played in everything, which is why we often see these situations to where if a team doesn't have a good Genji player.
Well, it's kind of my, tinfoil hat theory, right? They want to put the hero they want to be meta. They're going to buff that hero, and they're just going to be like, we're getting towards the end of the season. People are maybe getting a little bit exhausted with the double hit scan thing. We haven't said anything about Overwatch 2, even though we announced a fucking trailer for it 7 months ago.
Give us more Overwatch 2, Blizzard.
So what do? How do we distract them? Buff fucking Genji. Give them Dragon Blades and Nano Blades, and everyone will be happy. And what happened? Look at us. We're talking about the best tournament Overwatch has maybe ever had.
Very true.
So I think there are people who sit back in a room, locked away, these 6 men who nobody knows their names. They're like, how can we shift the meta to our benefit? And I think that's what they did. I hope they do. So it's shifted to the Genji meta, which is a lot more exciting to watch. Dragon Blades are much more exciting to watch than what was it before? Like, just
it's
McCree's.
Bob.
Yeah. I enjoyed the Tracer part. The Tracer meta for me I enjoyed watching the great Tracer play we've had over the past month.
I enjoy Ashe play. I think that she is an underrated hero for sure. She's a lot of fun. Her
she's annoying. Great. That fucking Dynamite, dude. I was like, God damn it, I'm on fire.
That's why they nerfed it. I'm glad they nerfed it. Like, I think that now that Ashe has the DPS that she does, the Dynamite it's only 2 seconds extra of a cooldown, but that we all know any second in Overwatch of a nerf is a nerf.
Yeah, and you can actually play off of it. Once you use the Dynamite, you're like, okay, now we can group up together. Because before, if we were grouped up together, we'd all just take Dynamite damage and we get a Bob every 2 fights. And it's like, God damn it, Bob, go away, go to sleep. Go whatever planet you're from, like, go away.
But Bob has to do something. Come on.
Oh, my God. Bob does too much. Bob, stop. You're doing too much. You're doing too much over here.
But, yeah, no. So, to go back to the whole tournament thing, this next one, I'd like to see what happens. I doubt they're going to change all too much from this last one. Hopefully, we get more upsets. Hopefully, we don't have a lot of 3-0s, because personally, I hate watching 3 Overwatch.
Well, yeah, that's probably the most boring thing that could happen to this game, and I think it started to happen a little too often, which may not be another reason why. With that. And then Asia region still has that problem, right? The only match that wasn't a 3-0 or 3-1 was the final. So the Asia region matches were very boring for this tournament, and I think their viewership suffered. I mean, I wasn't up to watch it anyway, but looking at just the views on YouTube, like there's nowhere near what it was for the NA region, just because the NA region was so crazy.
Well, thank you, because that's a perfect transition into what I did want to talk about. I do want to talk about the grand finals here. I know we brought it up earlier in the episode about what they're gonna do, but if I do genuinely think that if we try integrating NA and APAC at the very end, we're gonna see a lot of 3 Overwatch. We're gonna see a lot of 4 Overwatch. It's because these teams, they're so used to playing against each other, they're not gonna be able to have the practice, not gonna be able to have the skills or the knowledge to actually keep up with their opponents.
It depends on how many teams are getting into these the final tournament, I guess. Is it just still the top 12, I believe?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. Maybe it'll be like, because maybe it's the top 6 of NA and the top 4 of APAC. That's a 10-man or 10-team bracket.
If that's the case, there may be a 3-0 between like the 1 and the 10 seed or 9 seed. But as it gets whittled down, I don't think so. I think these teams are too good. I think between Shanghai, like we played a match between Shanghai and Paris right now, or Shanghai and Fusion, or Shanghai and Shock. Shanghai, obviously, I think is the best team right now.
Let me throw this at you.
There's gonna be 3-0s.
Let me throw this at you. I'm gonna read out the top 10 teams right now. Just cut off at top 10. Okay.
Is the Project Power Rankings? Is that what's happening?
Actually, that is something I do think we should do before the grand finals, but we'll get into that later. So here's the top 10 teams as of July 7th. Shanghai at 1, Philly at 2, Guangzhou at 3, San Francisco at 4, New York at 5, Paris at 6, Florida at 7, Valiant at 8, Seoul at 9, and Atlanta at 10. So that's going to be the top half of the league right now. If we're looking at that, that's 4 teams from APAC and 6 teams from NA. The thing that is kind of pulling me into a different direction for this is seeing how number 1 is APAC, number 3 is APAC, number 5 is APAC, and number 9 is APAC. If we round those out, statistically speaking, they're better? Is that how that works? I'm not good at math, but...
So, I don't know what you mean by they're better because of their total games, the teams they're playing, you think? Or is that what you...
This is just my whole dilemma with it. It's kind of hard to gauge really how good these teams are because they're not playing each other in the league, right? If it were something correct me if I misunderstood this, but in the NFL, you have the AFC and the NFC. They don't play each other very often.
Right. And then they go and they meet in the Super Bowl at the end. So I'm sorry, I just saw at the bottom here, 6 teams will qualify for the playoffs.
Okay.
Based on their regular season record. So it's only going to be the top 6 and the 2 division winners. Conference winners.
Conference winners as in separate from those top 6 teams?
Yeah, the top seed
it's probably going to be
division.
some kind of a tournament where the lower teams get a chance to win their way into the tournament, I guess. That makes sense.
Probably, but for right now, the top seed in the Atlantic and Pacific Conference will get a first round bye, which would be Shanghai and Fusion, and then the next 4 teams will advance. So Shanghai and Fusion will get byes, and then so it'd be Charge, Shock, New York, and Paris right now. Which so the question
I'd be okay with that playoff.
I'd be cool with the playoff too, but the question you're asking is it fair? So is it fair that a team like Seoul had to play Shanghai 7 times and that's their record, but if they played Vancouver, Toronto, Gladiators, you can
say Dallas, it's okay.
I ain't gonna do us like that. I was like, all right, but the Justice in Boston, obviously their record would be better. So if I'm Seoul, I would be, as a coach, I'd be saying, hey, I'm left out, but I'm only it's 4 games. It's kind of a lot. But those 4 games, I lost to Guangzhou and Shanghai the whole time was all I had to play. So it's not fair that, Paris gets in because they had some weaker competition and I can't get in. So there's an argument to be made there. But I'm in the same boat as you. I'm curious to see how the league handles it, because if it's only 6, that's a tight window. That's a small group of teams. And I don't know how you balance that out. And I don't know if they even can. The league may not even try. They just made it say,
I don't think they can.
It's COVID, tough shit. You didn't make the playoffs.
So the reason why I asked you about the NFL comparison is, if this were a switch up from the beginning of the season, I wouldn't have as much of an issue with it. Because the first half of the season, we did actually see all of these teams playing against each other. Then we went to no one. It's kind of curious, but one thing I'm noticing is, just by looking around the different sports, both T and E, yeah, I did it.
T and E.
We're seeing a lot of this happen, to where leagues just go on pause, and then they have to resume, and some teams just can't participate, and it's like, what the fuck is going on this season, dude?
And some people, and they shorten the season. Like the MLB, the Major League Baseball, has a super short season. The NBA is restarting with, I think, 12 games or something like that. It's crazy. And then and teams were left out, like you're saying. So a lot of teams are on the bubble to get into the bubble. Haha, NBA's doing, NBA's doing like a COVID bubble. So a lot of teams that were on the bubble, who were trying to get in the bubble, didn't get invited, because you're not close enough that you're just not going to get a chance. If you had a full season, maybe you would have made the playoffs, but we're not going to be playing enough games, so you're mathematically eliminated. So it's happening all over the place. So maybe if the precedent's already been set, maybe Overwatch League is like, yo, we're still only taking the top 6 teams and division winners. And if half of those teams are Asia region teams, and you're an Asia region team, and it just sucks that Asia region was stronger and you lost a lot more games and you don't get in, that sucks, but that's just the way it is. So they may just go that route. But I wouldn't be mad at the way it is right now, because the top 6 teams, I'd be like, damn, I want to see any of these teams. Yeah, any of these teams I want to see play right now.
Absolutely. Each other. I want to see the Shanghai Shock game so bad, dude.
I do too. Yeah. Because that's the thing, though, because we saw Paris beat Shock and Fusion. But, I'm not hopping off the Shock, bandwagon that quick. This team has survived so many metas. There have been so many meta shifts, and the Shock just figure it out. I guarantee you, by the next time they play, or if not the time after that, they'll have figured out this meta, and they're going to, just start dominating again. Absolutely. They're going to figure out how to stop the Genji.
And I want to close on this, because you're right. At the end of the day, they're just going to have to do whatever they have to do, this unprecedented world that we're in right now. Nobody has this shit figured out, because we're all figuring it out each and every day, I am just thankful that we still get to watch Overwatch, that we get to experience the amazing games that we did last week. And I'll take that.
I mean, that's the only sport I got to watch right now. Either that, boxing. I'm not a big boxing guy. There's no football. There's no basketball. I'm not even a big baseball guy, but shit, I'll watch 9 innings of baseball just because it's on and it's a sport. But esports have been just chugging along. All right, we're built for this. So
we really are, though.
Yeah, it's like, we all sit at home anyway. Shout out to Fielder. He's like, I do this all the time anyway, but it's not at 3 a.m.
Oh my god! But yeah, I do look forward to whatever we see for the rest of this season. And I'm sure that we're still going to get a good show. Overwatch League this season has subverted my expectations in multiple ways. And one of those ways is they've shown that they listen to the fans. So if anybody from OWL is watching or listening, thank you. You guys are doing good work. Keep it up. And we'll be here. But until then, this has been Texaswatch, your usual source for Outlaws and Fuel discussion and news. But, yeah.
We just had to talk about one of the best tournaments ever that the scene has seen to this point, and hopefully, if it keeps going up from here, I don't know how it can get any better, but if it does, holy shit, Overwatch League is going to get even bigger through the pandemic, and that'll be awesome.
And I look forward to whatever future that is next. But hey, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. You can catch the show live right here on twitch.tv/ProjectAR every Tuesday, 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time, because Texas time
is best this time.
If you're listening to us after the fact, please give us that subscription. We'd appreciate it on that podcast service. Maybe leave us a review. Or if you're on YouTube, hit that like, that subscribe, ring that notification bell. I probably should have said this at the beginning of the episode, but if you're watching us to this part of the episode, seriously, A, I love you. B, thank you. Stick around.
Thank you for your support.
We appreciate it. But until next time, let's make Texas proud.
Yeehaw.